presenters are going to talk to us about stress management. They are master interns at the Counseling Testing Center at Andrews University. Their names are Sarai Espinosa Ruiz and Vanessa Roper. At this time, we have them come on up and present it for us.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
Doing well.
Even though outside it's raining, we have sunshine in our souls, right? Mm-hmm. So we should be smiling, we should be happy, right? Mm-hmm. Happy Sabbath. It's a pleasure to be here, Sarah and I. And we're just going to take a few minutes and, just talk a little bit about stress and how it affects our bodies and our minds. We're just going to go a little bit into it at this time. I am Vanessa and this is Sarah. All right, so first, everybody knows what stress is and the forms it can be in, I'm guessing. Do we know that? Yes. Well, if we don't, we're going to learn more about it today. But before we start, I just want to do a little exercise, a little mindfulness exercise. I'm just going to ask you to get very relaxed. If you have something in your hand, just put it on the seat beside you. Try as best as possible to clear your mind. Think on something wonderful. Think about a peaceful place that you've always dreamed of going, or somewhere you'd really like to be right now. That's very tranquil. And at this time, I'm going to ask for you to take a deep breath. If you're feeling the breath, I'm going to ask you to exhale, I'm sorry. If when you exhale a while ago, you felt it coming from your chest, I'm sorry. It should not be coming from your chest, it should be coming from your stomach. The moment you start to feel, whenever you're exhaling, that is coming from your chest, that's called anxious breathing. And we should never be breathing that way. We should always be breathing from our stomach. So we're going to try it again and see if we could do it. Let's go. Inhale. Now exhale. Was it flattering while you were letting it go? Exhale. So do you feel a difference when you're breathing from your stomach than when you're breathing from your chest? Instead of what's that? Nothing happened. But when you take a deep breath from your stomach and let it go gently, you should feel a little different when you're done. All right, so we're going to do a lot of that today. And if you come to the booth, we'll talk more about that. But we're just going to get into it as it relates to what stress is. So according to the National Institute of Mental Health, stress is defined as the brain response to any demand. Anything that triggers a response, and those things that can trigger a response from the brain will be any form of change, any change at all. Changes can be positive, it can be negative, as well as real or perceived. It can be long-term, it can be short-term. It can include things like going to work, coming from work, getting the kids ready for school. The kids are getting ready for an exam. The kids are playing. They fell off the bicycle. Anything like that will be classified as a change in whatever we're used to. Change can be mild and relatively harmless. For example, winning a race, that's not harmful, right? That's very harmless, right? That's victorious, you won something. Or watching a scary movie, or hearing something, I have an aunt who met in an accident. That would trigger a response. Some changes are major, such as getting married or getting a divorce. Some changes could be serious illness, car accidents. These are all considered to be changes that will take place in our lives some way or the other, some of which we can control. So let's go to the next slide. So with all these changes, it affects our body, it affects our health. It says, according to the Stress Management Society, there are at least 3 different types of stress, all of which carry physical and mental risk, right? So we're gonna look at the first type. It's called routine stress. Have you ever heard of routine stress before? All right, well, let's go a little deeper. Routine stress is related to the pressure of work, family, and other daily responsibilities. Let me see everybody who has a daily responsibility. We all do. So in somewhere or the other, we all face routine stress. Then the second one is stress brought on about a sudden negative change, such as losing your job, getting a divorce, illness, accidents, natural disaster. Then you have traumatic stress. These are events like major accidents, war, assault, or natural disasters, as I said before, should be in this category. And it's something very serious, and it causes hurt or danger to us. For example, someone is killed, someone got raped. Events like those are considered to be traumatic stress. So just to raise a hand if you have ever experienced routine stress, stress brought on by sudden stress or traumatic stress, any form of this, right? All right, so how is that affecting your health? How is that making you feel? How is that making you feel physically and mentally? Now, stress can cause physical, emotional, and behavioral disorder. Believe it or not, stress can cause your behavior to change. It affects peace of mind as well as personal and professional relationship. I can attest that when I am stressed, it does not only affect me, but it affects the persons around me. For example, the little cartoon, it's probably not clear enough for you guys to see it, but it's like, I'm a little bit stressed right now. Just turn around and leave quietly, right? A lot of times that happens to us, right? You are so stressed, you just look at the person coming up to you like, you better run, because I am stressed right now. And it affects our relationship. And it affects our relationship short-term and long-term, just by a little word, stress. Now, stress can also cause tension, minor illness, such as insomnia, backaches, headaches, and it can contribute to potential life-threatening diseases, such as high blood pressure and heart disease. A few years ago, while I was doing my undergrad degree, I was so stressed to the point where I developed dizzy spells. And I was like, why? When the doctor said, you're stressed, I was like, no, something else must be wrong. He's like, it's because of the stress and you not learning how to control it and deal with it. That's the reason why you're getting so dizzy. You need to control it. So believe it or not, stress can cause these minor illnesses. And you wonder where they're coming from. Then, how do you know that you are suffering from stress? So, for the body, you're going to have some form of headaches. I'm not saying that every headache is caused by stress, but you're going to have some headaches, frequent infections, muscle twitches, fatigue, skin irritation, and breathlessness. You're wondering, why can't I breathe properly? Why is my chest so tight? What's really happening? It can be a result of a lot of stressful events that are happening around you, and we're not able to control it. Then we have emotions, loss of confidence, more fussy, irritable, depression, apathy, alienation, apprehension. believe it or not, a lot of times people become depressed because of stressful events that are happening. And we find ourselves, the only way to deal with it is just to alienate ourselves from it all. And then you realize you start to go into a very depressive mode. The mind, you start to worry. We start to have nightmares in this, we start to be negative. We're very hasty when it comes on to making decisions. Oh, let's do that. Because you don't want to spend the time to think about what should be done. Instead, you're like, this is so stressful. Let's just make a decision. So we're very hasty to make decisions when we're stressed. Then we have behavior. We become very accident prone, loss of appetite. Now you're stressed and you no longer like food. Let me see the hands of the persons who loves to eat. You like to eat. Imagine you being stressed to the point where you no longer have an appetite for food. What are you gonna be doing, right? So stress can lead to that. No appetite. You're drinking more, probably alcohol beverages and stuff like that. You become very restless. And persons who smoke they get a craving to smoke even more. And these are just a result of stress, right? Now Sarah's gonna take over for the other aspect of stress as it relates to the Bible and what the Bible has to say about it. And then we'll talk more about it.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Well, now that my colleague Vanessa, she talks a little bit about stress and how we identify it, how it's divided. Let's talk about stress and the Bible, because the Bible talks about stress. What do you think? Do you find stress in the Bible? You know, in the Bible, there is not exactly the word stress, but God talks about anxiety, about worriness. Therefore, in the Bible, Jesus talked about stress. He talked about being anxious, about being worried. And there are a lot of verses on the Bible that we can find that God helps us to deal with stress. And as always, God can use everything in our favor. Even the wrong things, even the bad things that happens to us, they can use those in our favor. So how does God use stress in our favor? First, God uses stress to get our attention. You know, our body was created by Him, and our body was designed to send us messages when there is something wrong. I don't know, when you start feeling like Vanessa was saying, headaches, you have tension on your muscles, you feel like disconnected, you cannot concentrate, well, your body is telling you something, and God is telling you something through your body. There is something wrong with you. You have to give attention to this. Second, God uses stress to help us redefine or rediscover our priorities. And that's very interesting, because when we are worried, we are concentrated so much in the problem that we forget our goal. We concentrate, for example, I'm doing the master's right now, and sometimes I get stressed because I concentrate that much in the homeworks, in the assignments that I have to do, that I forget that my priority is just to graduate, to help people. Sometimes we do that. We concentrate that much in the problem that we forget what is our destination. So God uses that to remember you what is your priority. Third, God uses stress to draw us to Himself. And that is one that I really like. Because when we are stress-free, when we don't have problems, when our life is so perfect, we don't really remind that God is helping us to be happy. But when we're stressed, then we pray, we ask Jesus for help. So sometimes He uses that to get our attention to Him. The next one, God uses stress to teach us. And now I want you to think in one of the biggest crises that you have experienced. I'm pretty sure everyone here has experienced some kind of crisis. Think about that crisis. Think about how you deal with that. And I'm pretty sure that you will realize that after that crisis, you learn a huge lesson. Usually after biggest crises and problems, we get to learn huge lessons in our lives. And that's the one we remember. And finally, God uses stress to strengthen our faith. Because when everything has been tried, when we have done everything we could, that's when God starts to work. And that's when God starts to do miracles in your life. So that's why God uses even the stress to strengthen your faith. Now, we don't have that much time, and they already told me, so we're gonna go a little bit faster. We're gonna see some tips to deal with stress. Because even though, although God uses many things to help us, we have to also do something to deal with stress when we can. So there are 10 tips to deal with stress. First, start doing physical activity, exercise. You know, there are two hormones that are called adrenaline and cortisol that are actually the stress hormones. So when we do exercise, we decrease these hormones and we start feeling a little bit better. So exercise is not just to look good and have a good shape, it's also to help us to deal with stress and with sleep. Second, get more sleep. You know, the lack of sleep actually increases stress. Although sometimes when we are stressed, we cannot go to sleep. So this is kind of like contradictory. But if we try to get more sleep, if we try to avoid coffee and stuff like that make us awake, we're gonna get better health. Then third, relaxation techniques. We already learned one with Vanessa. She already taught us how to breathe. But there are more relaxation techniques that we can use to decrease stress. The next one is talk to someone. And this one is a very important one. I don't know about you, but especially women, after we talk with a friend or with someone very close to us, we feel even rested. Like, oh, I feel now more rested after talking to you. So talking to someone about how you're feeling, about what you're experiencing, even though the person is not going to give you the solution, but just talking, it helps you even to identify, maybe that's why I feel this way. So talking to someone is always helpful. Next one is keep a stress diary. Start, a diary, a journal, writing about what is stressing you, what is making you worry. It's also helpful to you, especially if you are not that open to talk to someone, if you don't feel that comfortable talking to someone about your problems. Doing a stress diary help you to deal with that. It's like talking to yourself. Then identify risk factors, and that's very important. We all have different triggers. We all have different things that may deal to stress. So if you already identify that maybe, I don't know, going through finals, or have to deal with someone in your family, it starts to make you stressed, well, you already identify the factors, so it's going to be easier to solve the problem. Take control. Start taking control of the things that are happening around you. Stop blaming others and start taking responsibility for the things that you can do. The things that you can do are the things that you can control. The other ones, you don't have to even worry about it. But the things that are in your power, that's the ones that you can control. And stress is one of them, because it's in your power. Manage your time. Start doing schedules, start doing, planners. Try to manage your time, because I don't know about you, but sometimes I find myself that I run out of time, and then at the end of the day, I'm like, where did it go the whole day? I don't know what I did, but I just did one thing in the whole day, in the 24 hours, I just did this one thing. So start managing your time, it's gonna help you. Learn to say no, and this is one very important. Sometimes we find ourselves in many activities that we don't even have time to rest. So start saying no, start doing priorities, it's gonna help you. And cultivate a sense of humor, laughter, smiling, it's always gonna help you to change your mood, to be happier, at least trying to be happy. And finally, this is one activity that I wanted to print for you, but you can do it at home. This is a stress-ometer. You can measure yourself. You see there is a green part that says no problem. Then there is a yellow part that says medium problem, you know? And there is the red part that says crisis, like disaster. So you can measure yourself, you can see where you are, and then you see the squares on top, you can write the strategies that you can use. For example, if you find yourself in the green part, no problem, I don't have stress right now, well, you can add some strategies like, okay, I'm gonna keep doing exercise, I'm gonna keep sleeping right, I'm gonna keep managing my time because that's gonna help me stay in here in the green part. If I find myself in the yellow area, then okay, maybe I already listened to my body that I'm starting to feel some stress. So okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna talk to someone, I'm gonna probably, I don't know, keep doing more exercise, I'm gonna say no to some things, I'm gonna prioritize my activities. And then if you find yourself in the red area, in a crisis, sometimes it's even necessary for you to see someone that can help you with. A counselor, a pastor, a friend that can help you deal with this. And that's gonna help you to measure yourself and with the strategies that you can use. So we run out of time. I really hope you could get a little bit of a view about the stress and how we can deal with it. There is much more to learn. However, we don't have that much time. We're going to be in the booth. We're going to be talking about this. If you have any question, if you have any thing that you may want to consult with us, we're always willing to help you. And remember, stress is just part of life. But it depends on us and our trust with God of how we're going to deal with it. So, I don't know if you want to add something. So, do you have any question? No?
I'll ask later.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, I have one, but I'm waiting. Like my little cousin wants to get water.
Okay. Someone else has another question? Okay, well, thank you so much for your time.
She has a question over here.
She has a question.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
How do I deal with someone which I recognize that someone has stress, but he doesn't recognize himself or herself that is in that situation? But I see things someone is doing is like someone is stressed, but he doesn't recognize.
Oh, you're asking me how to help someone that we're seeing that has stress. Okay, that's a very good question. When we see friends or someone that is close to us, that we are seeing that they are experiencing stress, that sometimes they are not aware of that, we can always, try to advise them. If we start pushing them like, you're stressed, they're gonna, block themselves. And they may not answer us or listen to us. But if we try to advise them, like we can try, we can always try with the physical aspects. Like, do you have headaches? Have you experienced muscle tension? Have you experienced lack of sleep? Things like that, things that Vanessa talked about. They can listen to that because it's related to physical aspects. When we reach people about emotional or psychological aspects, sometimes they block. And they don't want to talk about it. If we ask them, you have a problem, right? I'm pretty sure you have a problem. And say, no, I don't want to talk to you about my life. Or if we tell them, yes, I'm seeing that you are very stressed. They're going to tell you, now you're doing a diagnosis to me. So, if we reach the people in our emotional way, sometimes it will block. But if we try to reach them in the physical way, it's less sensitive. So we can tell them, you have a headache, have you experienced, tension? Maybe you can see a doctor. We don't tell them a counselor because sometimes they will be like, counselor, I'm not crazy. Counselors are just for crazy people. But if we try to reach them for the physical aspects, they may respond. So that's a good. Yes?
And also sometimes it may be difficult for you to reach out to the person.
Right.
Find somebody who is closer to that person,
Right.
who is more comfortable for the two to talk about whatever
Right.
is going on.
Yes, exactly. That's a good advice. That's what I said. If you are closer to that person, it's easier. But as you said, if we are not that close, we can always, as you said, find someone that can be trusted acceptable for that person, someone that that person can trust and listen to it. So that's a very good advice.
I
Yes.
have a question. You showed us some ways of being free from stress. First one was the exercise, right?
Mhm.
But during the exercise, it's very hard to just get rid of the stress factor. But still, it can help. That kind of still exercise can help out the getting out of the stress still.
It does, and that's a very interesting question because it's true. Sometimes we exercise, but we keep thinking about the problem, right? About the situation. But as I said before, we don't even notice. Our body is so amazing, but we don't even notice. The hormones that I was telling you, they decrease when we exercise.
Even with that kind of
And even when we are thinking. However, what we can do is try to do exercise listening to relaxing music. Trying that, relaxation music. Not music that is all crazy and with words and it's gonna make your head even worse. But music that is calm, music that actually can go with your exercise. Sometimes it's helpful. It's helpful. So, but as you said, doing exercise, even though you still have the thought, it helps you. And if you try even like running, that helps you a lot because you are thinking about it. But when you are running, sometimes you even find the solutions while you're doing exercise. It's very interesting. So, yeah. Okay, I think no more questions. That's what they say. Okay, thank you so much for your time. We're gonna be in the booth if you have any other questions.